Hello and welcome to the first episode of many, I hope, of the Who Let Dad Near a Mic podcast. Kian's idea, wonderful idea, I thought. I'm Dad. This is Kian. Welcome, Kian.
Hello.
Okay, so today we'll be talking about the weekend's Premier League games. We'll start off, Kian, with the Manchester City game and Leeds, where they took a 2-0 lead, City, and we thought, well, here we go, City are going to walk them over, only for Leeds to come back to make it 2-2 before City took it in the end and winning 3-2. We saw a few interesting bits in that. Are City's defence a problem at the minute?
I don't know. I didn't watch the game, so I'm going to ask you. Are City's defence a problem at the minute?
I do think there is some vulnerability in their defence. Watching it when Dan James was released from the long ball at the start, Leeds were trying to play out from the back. When that actually City do what they do best, and that's hold everybody back. But as the game wore on in the first half, you started to see Leeds United play some longer balls out from the back, and obviously that released an opportunity for some of their goals. So I do think there are some vulnerabilities at the back. You know, John Stones isn't as young as he used to be. Brennan Diaz made a few mistakes, but we all know City are fantastic going forward. There's no doubt about that. But I do think they need to make some improvement at the back, to be honest, to become title challengers. No one wants to see Arsenal win the league, really, unless you're an Arsenal fan. So pretty much all the Premier League don't want to see Arsenal win it.
So you think City's vulnerabilities are down to their defence becoming just too old to compete in the Premier League?
Well, yeah, to a degree I did. You know, you look at the game during the week in the Champions League against Bayer Leverkusen, a very athletic Bayer Leverkusen side, and they did kind of take City to the cleaners a bit. I know it was only 2-0 and City were at home, but I mean, there are vulnerabilities there. And yes, Pep made lots of changes, but the vulnerabilities are there. I think they rely on Haaland way too much. You know, Phil Foden coming back into the side this week made a complete difference. You know, he looked really, really good. And it's nice to see the old Phil Foden coming back. But anyway, that's enough about City. Let's talk about Leeds. Are Leeds able to stay in the Premier League playing the style of football they're playing? We know Farker has beaten City as a Norwich manager, but are Leeds able to stay in the Premier League playing the style of football they're playing? What do you think?
Again, I don't pay enough attention to Leeds. You know, my awful ball knowledge coming out here. Should watch more of the Premier League. So I'm going to ask you, Dad. Do you think that Leeds are going to be able to stay in the Premier League playing Daniel Farker's style of football?
My honest answer is no. As a West Ham fan like yourself, you know, we need 3 other teams to be worse than us. And at the moment, that is difficult. You know, Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves are the 3 likely to go down at the minute, you know, but there are frailties there. Unfortunately, we'll talk on it in a bit. Fulham have pulling themselves away, which is nice to see. But, you know, I do think that we're going to be at the bottom there with Leeds. And so, no, the answer is I don't think Farker's style of football is going to get Leeds to stay up. I do think they'll struggle. Which then leads me to my next question: is Farker the right man to manage Leeds in the Premier League? We've seen his track record in the Premier League already in recent years, and I don't think his style of football suits Leeds United.
I think he just needs to learn how to utilise Leeds' players a bit better, because we've seen Leeds players are fully capable of playing good football, especially Dan James. You watch him in the Welsh team during the international break. Dan James can come on the pitch and make a big difference, but I don't think Farker is able to, the way he's playing, utilise him enough. And when you're a manager with a newly promoted Premier League team, you need to not rely as such, but you need to use your star men to their full capabilities.
So, do you think Leeds lack a striker, or are you saying their whole ability is just down? You know, get the ball to Dan James and hope. You've got to think they've got a talented Willie Nonto in there. You know, he was rated as one of the best young players to come through. I don't know what child. I meant player.
Really weird there.
Yeah.
Why is that on your mind? But anyway, no, I just think, I'm not saying they're relying on him. They're not. They need to learn how to utilise him properly, like he is able to in the Welsh squad.
You see, one of the moments I was alluding to earlier in the podcast just a minute ago was where Dan James was released from a long ball. Now, obviously, we know that could be one of the reasons City are pulled back is vulnerability because they press so high. I don't see how they can get Dan James into it playing the way Leeds played in the first half, trying to match City with the playing out from the back and passing the ball. I think we need to go back, you know, to the Sam Allardyce and Tony Pulis style of football, where these young smaller teams do launch the ball forward and try and outcompete the bigger teams that way.
You've seen it against big teams before. I think it was last season or the season before. Thomas Frank's Brentford against City, played a long ball, 2 flicked on headers, and they scored. That's easy to do because City are a team who are used to playing fancy Premier League football, Champions League football. As soon as they come up against a scrappy English style of long ball, route one, then you can pick up points from teams who aren't used to it.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Now, that then leads to, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin a Premier League striker? Or is he, as I've heard on a recent podcast, obsolete?
You know, obsolete meaning no longer produced or out of date. I think that Calvert-Lewin's been out of date for a long time. He's not a Premier League striker. He scored, 2 goals?
Well, Everton
goals?
wouldn't have let him go. Struggling Everton side wouldn't have let a top striker go. So that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, he scored, I think, like only 2 goals or something stupid like that. He's nowhere near a Premier League striker. Maybe once upon a time he could have been. I don't think he ever reached his full potential, and now he's like Dad said, he's been released by a struggling Everton, which obviously shows he's just not good enough. He's gone to a newly promoted team and he's struggling there. So
Okay, we'll touch on another game that I think had some key moments. Now, that was Spurs Fulham. Now, we all know how woeful, and I'm loving it at the minute being a West Ham fan, Spurs are. They've actually got a worse home record than West Ham, so that says a lot. But the key moment from that game for me was Harry Wilson's goal. I mean, Vicario made a mistake to lead to the goal, but what a goal from that angle to be able to take that on. I think, he's an amazing young talent, and I'm afraid he's Welsh, so it kind of ruins it for me a bit, but, I'd rather him be English. So what was your take on the mistake by Vicario? As a young goalkeeper yourself, what would you have done in that situation?
These things happen. It's football. He's come out. You can see what he's trying to do. He's come out to play, sweep it up. He's nearly been dispossessed. He's managed to keep it, and then he's had to just swing a left foot at it, and it's unfortunately landed at a Fulham player who's dropped it off to Wilson, and Wilson's just curled it from some stupid angle, and it's ended up in the goal. Obviously, you're going to blame Vicario for that, for not clearing the ball. Could he have just put it out for a throw-in maybe instead of trying to lump it forward with I believe it's his weaker foot, maybe. But it's football, these things happen. He's just unlucky it's fallen on his weaker foot rather than being a right-footed hoof up the pitch.
No, as you said there, he did have the opportunity to clear the ball. You can go for the safe option and go out for a throw. But he had multiple touches before he made the mistake and like say, possibly on his weaker foot. So do you think he should have cleared it earlier? Or do you think, his reaction afterwards was he got angry at the players? It's like he's almost blaming his teammates for his mistake. Do you think that's correct, or do you think he should, like you say, he should take the safer option? What's your take on it? Do you stand with Vicario or stand against him? Goalkeepers junior and all that.
Well, he's a Premier League goalkeeper. He knows a lot more than me. I don't really know what happened leading up to the mistake. As a goalkeeper, you're naturally going to turn to your defenders because where are they once you've given the ball away? But all things considered, it's majority. That's Vicario's fault. He had opportunities to do something else. He didn't. Gave the ball away and they conceded. So
okay, so I know we seem to be on the managers' cases lately of the teams that aren't winning. Now, I saw a stat that at this point last season under Ange Postecoglou, I can't pronounce his name, I do apologise.
Postecoglou.
That's the one. They actually had 2 more points at this point last season. So are they better under Thomas Frank, or do you think they're getting better but he's having to pick up from what Ange had left previously?
It's uncomparable, really. Ange's second season, where he had time to bond with the players and get to know them, and this is Thomas Frank's first season. He's still, I know it's the Premier League, he should have got to know his players now through pre-season and everything, but the first season's never perfect. Look at Arsenal under Mikel Arteta, they didn't come straight in and win the league. I just think it's nice seeing Tottenham not do great, but if I was a Tottenham fan, you've just got to understand that he's got to have a little bit of time. They're not doing horrifically, but they're not doing well. You've just got to allow him to get the team playing how he wants them to and go from there.
You've also got to remember this is a Tottenham team without Heung-min Son and Harry Kane. Obviously, Harry Kane wasn't there last season, but to lose I would say almost a leader for them after Harry Kane left in Heung-min Son. I know he didn't have their best of seasons before Tottenham fans get on my back, but I think that's a massive player to miss, isn't it?
Yeah, when you've got someone like Son who's been there since 2015, he's one of your most crucial players. He brought everything together. He was a leader, and he was one of the most well-liked players in the league. For him to go, it's a big miss, and they bring in Kudus to try and replace such a big hole. It's just massive boots to fill. Like you can't You can't expect them to come in and instantly have the same impact that someone like Son did. But obviously, Richarlison has came in to play up front. Obviously, he's been at Tottenham quite a while now, but this season he's really showing his true ability.
Well, he's definitely up there, isn't he? You know, he's scored a few goals. I do feel sorry him every time he takes his shirt off. I know he gets booked, but he also has a goal disallowed. So, you know, maybe keep your shirt on, Richarlison. You know, I'm not saying anything, but that's what I'd do.
Good advice.
Okay, so we'll touch on it. We've just watched the West Ham game this afternoon, and yeah, you know, I know it's Liverpool, but it is a weak Liverpool, a beatable Liverpool. Look at them last week against Forest. They looked a shadow of themselves, and that was at Anfield. You know, today they've come to the Bowl. The London Stadium, and they've made. I don't know if we've made them look good. Is it a West Ham thing? And you know, a manager's about to get sacked, and we make them look amazing, or have Liverpool turned a corner?
I mean, it wasn't the best of watches. I watched it from about the 20th minute. The referee wasn't the greatest. It seemed like the game was getting slowed and slow. There was lots of fouls. So Paqueta getting sent off. It wasn't the greatest watch. I think there were times where West Ham dominated the game. There was times where Liverpool dominated the game. I think both teams could have scored before they did. Unfortunately, some shit defending by Mavropanos.
Language.
It just led to a goal. It's just been West Ham all season. Woeful defending, silly mistakes, lapses in concentration have lost us goals, and especially against a team like Liverpool. No matter how bad they're doing, you can't drop off like that or fall asleep against a team like that because they'll punish you. And that's what they did. They ended up scoring. We tried our best to get back into the game, didn't, and then we conceded again.
That's okay. Touching on two of your points there, Kian. Obviously, we'll go back to what you said about Thomas Frank when you said a manager needs time. Now, Nuno's come in after a muck up from Graham Potter. We've spent a lot of money on players. So, is it a case of we've got to see what happens in January? Is Nuno going to get a chance to get some players in? Is with the spending that we've had, or do you think it's just a case of give him to the end of the season and next season's going to be better? You know, what do you do?
I think we have, in my opinion, a very capable team on our hands. There's a few players that should go, but besides the minority, we have a majority of players who are fully capable of doing it at the Premier League. We've seen that. You know, he's come in, he drew against Everton, got 2 losses, but he came back 2 wins on the bounce because we fought hard and they were well-deserved 3 points. Well, 6 points. And then just you come against a team like Liverpool, no matter how bad they're doing, it's Liverpool at the end of the day. They've got that special touch about them, and we just get punished, like I said, for lapses in concentration. But I think the team we've got are capable of doing it at this level, and I don't see why we need to make too many changes in January. Maybe if I was Nuno, get rid of the few, like I said, weigh up what you've got at the end of the season. We should be in the Premier League by then, and then allow them to spend big in the summer. Not that we need it again, because we spent too much money, but a lot can change at the club, obviously, with what's going on with the Sullivan, Brady, BS out, you know. A lot can change, so if I was in his position, I'd be weighing up my options in the summer.
So, do you want to put your name in the hat with the players that you would release, or are you just going to keep it as the players?
You know, obviously, as a West Ham fan, you're looking out there. You've got players like Guilherme, who we spent 20 million on him last season or the season before. He's just Brazilian wonder kid. No, he wasn't. He's not had his chance, and when he does get his chance, he doesn't do enough. So that's one. Fulkrug, old. We thought he'd come in, do well in the Premier League. He hasn't. Nowhere near how good he was in the Bundesliga. And like I said, he's old. That's another one that's got to go. We've got Alvarez out on loan. I say he goes. Kilman's another one. 40 million for one of the worst centre backs I've seen. Mavropanos, very hit and miss. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him. That's one I'd also consider to go. That's about it. That's 6, and half of them are just rotting on our bench. So I think getting them gets rid of some dead weight and allows us to bring in players with the money we've got.
Yeah, even if they go, it's the wage bill that will release up. We know they're on big money. They're Premier League players. But Fulkrug, I'm gutted. I really liked him at Borussia Dortmund. Really thought he was going to add something. But yeah, the West Ham striker curse is it again. But when Brady and Sullivan buy 30-plus-year-old strikers, you know, what can I say? I'm not moaning that Callum Wilson isn't one of my favourites. He's scoring goals in a minute. Can he win me over? We'll give him a little bit more time because he's scoring goals. So that then leads on, Kian, our Brazilian Magnifico, Lucas Paquetá. Today, I was telling you while we were watching the game, he's going to get himself sent off. He's going to get himself sent off. Get him away. Get him away. He 2 yellow cards leading to the red, obviously for basically misconduct. You don't speak to a referee like that. He's experienced enough to know. But the ref got it wrong. The ref, it was Fulcrook. It should have been Fulcrook that got the booking, and that what was
No,
kicking
the
Paqueta off.
booking. Paqueta got booked because he was throwing his hands up in the air after a foul that was a foul by Fulkrug. Paqueta, I don't know why he's just throwing his hands in the air. When the ref didn't see him, he threw his hand in the air again, which is a bit suspicious considering all the scandals he's been in. Then he gets booked. Then he has his opportunity just to walk away and accept his booking. He goes and he continues after the ref, pulled away by Allison, pulled away by Bowen, after the ref. It's just really, really silly. He had so many opportunities to just walk off. He's a Premier League footballer. He's a fully grown man. He can just walk off. But no, he's pushed and pushed and pushed. And he's got himself sent off a really silly red card.
Yeah, but then my point is, I've said it. Bowen's he's a legend at West Ham. He's going to be, he's going to be up there. Danny Dyer's not going to let him go, both of them. But Bowen, as a captain, he should have taken and diffused that situation. He shouldn't be relying on the other team's goalkeeper. Yes, he's a Brazilian teammate, but he shouldn't. He should be dealing with that first. I know the refs called him over, but Bowen's first opportunity to get that dealt with. Get Paqueta as far away from the referee as possible. We know what he's like. We know he's fiery. I think some of the blame does have to land at Bowen's door, I'm afraid. But anyway, that leads on to the statement that Paqueta released on his X account earlier. Ian, you're going to read it out, I believe, aren't you?
Yeah, so essentially, a couple hours after the game, Paqueta came out and he retweeted the Sky Sports post of him getting sent off. And he quoted, "It's ridiculous to have your life and career affected for 2 years without any psychological support from the Federation. Perhaps this ridiculous behaviour is just a reflection of everything I've had to endure and, it seems, have to continue enduring. I'm sorry if I'm not perfect." Make of that what you will. It seems like he's coming out and blaming this red on the FA. Obviously, yeah, he's had to go through a lot, but you can't blame 2 years of that. You can't blame those 2 years on you back chatting to a referee as a 28-year-old man.
Yeah, I think I've seen that in kids football, grassroots level. But yeah, as a professional kid, you're right. He shouldn't be doing that. Come on, it's ridiculous. And Paqueta, you've cost us the game possibly, and you're going to be out for next week when we're struggling for fielding a decent side as it is. So yes, Mr. Paqueta, our Magnifico, I think you have cost us 3 points today. So yeah, our next talking point, Kian. I believe you saw it. I believe you were here with me when it happened. Jordan Pickford, England's #1 goalkeeper, and his absolute howler. Now, I know it took a deflection off the goalkeeper, but what's he doing? He's got his eyes shut and he's palming the ball in between his legs. Are you in the goalkeepers union? Is it a mistake? Is it because of the flick? Where's your stance on this, Kian?
Well, it's just another howler that's happened this week in the Premier League, and there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, the shots come at him with power. You can see what he's trying to sort of palm it away because it's an awkward power and awkward height just to scoop it. He's tried to palm it down. It's somehow bounced backwards and through his legs. Again, these things happen. You see it all the time in football. He's just, as a #1, as experienced as he is, he knows he's just got to suck it up and move on, really.
Yeah, well, obviously, that was one of the 2 goals, which they conceded, so technically, again, it would have been 1-0. They still would have lost the game. Everton didn't look like the team they have been in recent games, unfortunately. But it's good. It's not good. It's good. Whatever way you look at it, Fulham are back on the road again and winning. They're having a poor season themselves. So, yeah, I think they needed a bit of luck just like anybody else.
Fulham played Tottenham.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Everton played Newcastle.
Everton played Newcastle. I do apologise. I'm looking down at my notes and I've read the wrong line.
Everton played Newcastle and lost 4-1. So I think, if that goal hadn't have gone in, they would have lost 3-1.
3-1.
And not,
You're correct, kid. I should not read and look at notes at the same time. It makes it worse because I've watched all the games, so I should have known better. Okay, Kian, as you are going to be on this podcast every week, and you do have your own wonderful podcast, go check it out on Spotify. The Route 1 Brantham podcast, I believe, is the new official name.
Yeah, the Route 1 podcast, Brantham. I try to upload each week, normally Mondays, sometimes it's Fridays as well, Mondays and Fridays as well. Just talk about Brantham, non-league football, if that's your thing. I'm all over it. We have hopefully soon some guests on there as well. I'm looking to get more and more people on. It's normally me and one of the Brampton fans, but I'm always open to get other fans on there. I've uploaded 3 episodes so far. Fourth episode's going to be coming out soon, and many more to come. It's a great listen. It's doing well at the minute. I think the last episode had about 300, 400 listeners. So we just want to keep your eyes and keep bringing the attention to non-league football.
No, I think it's a great thing that, a bunch of young children, you're all 15, 16. I think there are some younger kids that go along every now and then, but to have that is something good. I know Brampton aren't having the best of seasons. I think they're in company with the mighty Wolverhampton Wanderers as the two teams that haven't won. Is it down to step 7 or down to
No,
whatever
in
step it is?
in the top 7 tiers, top 8 tiers, I think it is. Us and Wolves both on 2 points, but Brampton have played 21 games and Wolves have played 13.
Yeah. It's good company to keep, though. So while we're on the subject, we'll just quickly touch on the Isthmian Premier League, or Division 1 North, sorry, to get it correct. I'm not very good at this. I do apologise, listeners. This is where Kean comes in, because it's his specialist subject. I just want to touch on one thing I saw. I do go to a couple of games, here and there with to watch Brampton. Had a little trip to Cambridge City last week to see them lose in the pouring rain. What a lovely stadium, by the way. Just want to shout out to Cambridge City fans. Felixstowe Walton United, I believe they were on a 17 game unbeaten run, and they came up against Waltham Abbey at the weekend, and I think, was it score 7-2? I think something silly like that. Is those sort of score lines you see in the Isthmian League? Like I say, I don't attend enough, so.
No, even at non-league football, it is a rarity. Obviously, like you said, it wasn't 16 game unbeaten run, top of the league, Felixstowe and Walton. And then they come up against another team who are high up the table in Waltham Abbey, who are 4th. You expect it to be a close game, but Waltham Abbey just absolutely rolled them over. Beat Felixstowe 7-2 at Felixstowe's ground, I do believe it was as well. It was a shock to everyone, really. It's like, how can I put it? It's like Chelsea playing Arsenal and beating them 7-2. That's pretty much what it's like if you're comparing it to the Premier League. It was a shock. You don't see this all the time. Normally, it's entertaining, for not saying that this isn't entertaining. A 7-2 win, obviously entertaining for everyone in the league, except Felixstowe and Walton. But a bit of a shock.
So just touching on it, you mentioned Arsenal-Chelsea. The game's just finished. It was 1-1, just in case you want to know, guys. So that's where we're at. Okay, we're going to do little bits and pieces on this podcast. We're going to talk about up-and-coming fixtures. So we've got a nice set full week of Premier League action on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. We're just going to go around. We have a little chat about each fixture, what we think is going to be the score lines. Kean's getting his phone out to check because he can't read my writing because it's awful. So I'll just keep wobbling on for a minute while he gets it up on his phone. We'll do things like that. Maybe we'll talk about a Premier League 11 from the week, our selection. But this, for now, we'll just go with the fixtures this week. Kean, are you ready? Because I think we'll start off. I think Tuesdays is Fulham City is my first game I've got written down here. Is that good with you?
We've got 3 on Tuesday, 2 7:30 kickoffs, and then Newcastle Tottenham at 8:15. So kicking off with Fulham City. I don't know. Anything can happen. Like City nearly drawing to Leeds. Obviously, Fulham are going to see that off the back of a win against Tottenham. They're going to hope that they can come into City with a positive mindset, thinking they can go and win the game. You never know what can happen. Maybe City will come out of this Leeds game wanting to absolutely spank Fulham. But I reckon maybe we'll see a draw here. It's either going to be a draw or a City walkover.
No, I kind of agree with you there, Kean. I think, Fulham would have watched City. Like I said, touching on earlier in the podcast, are their defence weak? Are they going to try and play that football? The likes of Harry Wilson, his ability. Raul Jimenez, what a play he had, game he had, on Sunday as well. I'm gonna go a 2-1 City win. Are you going to be brave enough to put a scoreline on your thing, Kean?
Look, I'm saying if it's a draw, both teams have great scoring capability. I'm going to say 2-2. If it is a City win, I think it'll be 3-0, 4-0. I don't see Fulham scoring if it is that outcome. But then if Fulham come in, like I said, and City don't have the greatest of performances, it could easily be a fun 2-2 draw.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go in the next game. We've got Bournemouth Everton. Now we know what Bournemouth are like at home. Semenyo should be back, I believe, for that game. Everton's capabilities at the back were very vulnerable, as you said, Ian, when they lost 4-1 to Newcastle, not Fulham. I'm going to go a 2-0 Bournemouth home win in that game. I think if Semenyo's back, I think that makes a difference for them.
Yeah, so just looking at the statistics here, Bournemouth and Everton have had in the last 10 matches, Bournemouth won 8 and Everton have only won 2. But it's a new era, new management for Everton. They've seen some results that you wouldn't think they'd get. United, they obviously had the Gay sent off for having a fight with his own teammate, but they came out of that story with a 1-0 victory. So lots of shocks in this Premier League, lots of shocks under David Moyes. I see this being another Bournemouth win though. I think Bournemouth will grab a win here. I think a Bournemouth 2-0 win.
Okay, so that leads us to the late kickoff, which is obviously Newcastle versus Tottenham Hotspurs. Now we both hate Spurs. I'm sorry, Spurs fans. We just can't like you. Having been up to Newcastle, St James's Park last season when West Ham won 2-0, I love the Geordies, lovely people. So it's a big game because neither team are playing at their best. Oh yes, they beat Everton at the weekend, Newcastle, but I can't see anything but a 3-0 Newcastle win.
Yeah, I don't know. It's another difficult one to call, just like any Premier League game. As much as I don't want Tottenham to win, I reckon they'll take this game, and I reckon Tottenham will win 1-0.
1-0 Tottenham. Ooh, I think you should take your shirt off, Kian. Right, okay, so that leads to Wednesdays. Wednesdays is very stacked. There's some very, very good games on there on paper. So we'll start off with Wolves Forest, I believe it is. We know Wolves are struggling. It's a shame. They're a great little side. Their fans are lovely again. They can't struggle for much longer, can they, Kian? Really? So I don't know. I think Forest have found a new bit of form under Daishi. They're picking up results. That massive 3-0 win at Anfield last week was ridiculous. I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be 2-0 to Wolves. To Forest. I'm afraid. I think the home away team gets away with the points again.
Yeah, if you look at Forest, they're playing a team who are obviously struggling in Wolves, but defensively, there's no team like Forest in the league at the moment. Now Dyche has come in, he's just really taken them by storm, brought in his style of football, which always works. He's always defensively strong. He has a strong-minded team. They like to take risks. They like to get themselves stuck in a Dyche team, and that's always a good thing. But then if you go over to Wolves, new manager bounce could come into effect. They could play unbelievably well, or on the opposite scale, they could play unbelievably bad. But all in all, I reckon it's going to be a Forest win, unless the manager comes in and does special things. But anything can happen, like I say, for all the games.
Okay, so my next one on my list I've got down here is Burnley and Crystal Palace. Now, we went to the Burnley West Ham game 2 weeks ago before the international break, so it's about 2 weeks ago. And they defensively frail. They didn't look good. They are a poor side. Scott Parker is getting them playing well. Don't get me wrong. They had the opportunities to beat West Ham, but we came out winning 3-2 only because of mistakes by goalkeepers for both teams in that game. If I'm honest, Palace, European football, it's all new to them, so they've got playing midweeks and then weekends. They're kind of getting used to it already now. I can't see this either side really winning this game. I'm afraid. I think this has got a 1-1 written all over it. I think it'll go 1-0 Burnley. I think maybe Palace will get a late goal somewhere. Burnley can't defend a whole 90 minutes, unfortunately. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I'm saying it's going to be a tight game, like you said, but I think Palace will take this 2-1. Palace have a decent away form, and they've got good defensive stability, which the same with Forest. It's going to work against a struggling Burnley side, who well, struggled to score goals. They scored 2 against West Ham. And that's probably because we have one of the worst defences in the league. But yeah, I'm gonna go over 2-1 Palace win.
Okay. I've got Brighton, Hove Albion, and Aston Villa down next. Now, some of the football Villa play can be fantastic. This season, they're not reaching the heights they reached, the last 2 seasons under Emery. Brighton, we know they can play football. They've had some very exciting young talents come through, and then to sell them to Chelsea, obviously. I've got a draw down again. I think it's going to be there's going to be goals. I think it could be a close game, but I am going with a 2-2 draw. I think there's going to be goals in it, and I think both teams are capable of scoring them. So I'm going to go 2-2.
Both teams could like the floor, but I don't know. I don't know about this game. It's another strange fixture that's difficult to predict. I'm gonna say 1-1, just because it's such a tight and strange game. But if Brighton have the ability and the intensity, they could easily nab the game, and the same goes for Villa.
Okay, next on my list is the Northwest and Northwest, the North and West London derby. So we've got here Arsenal at home. We know how good they are at home. We know how good they are in general. They are playing some wonderful football. I personally think it's mainly down to their wonderful midfielder in Declan Rice. We all know what a wonderful player is. I'm saying it now, guys. You heard it here. Declan Rice will be England captain soon. He's an absolute legend until he joined Arsenal. I can't see anything here. Arsenal 3-0. I don't think Brentford are good enough to compete with Arsenal. We know Arsenal don't concede goals. Raya has been phenomenal this season. So, yeah, 3-0 Arsenal for me. I can't see anything better than that.
Well, Arsenal arguably arguably the best team in the world at the minute. They just seem to be unstoppable. Obviously, just drawn to a very informed Chelsea team who've come off the back of beating Barcelona. I don't see Brentford getting anything from this game. Arsenal, if they continue the way they've been, should snap Brentford in half. 3-0 Arsenal, I'm going to say.
Just touching on that. European champions for the first time? Well, apart from the Cup Winners' Cup.
If they carry on and don't bottle like most teams in North London have the tendency to, I think they could easily go on to win it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I hope they don't. Liverpool, Sunderland. Now, if this had been Sunderland-Liverpool, I'm going Sunderland all day long. They're phenomenal at home this season. The Mackham fans, they're really showing it for their team in the Premier League. Who saw this coming? Sunderland, what, they 4th or 5th in the Premier League at the minute, against, I want to say a weak Liverpool, but as a West Ham fan today, we can't say a weak Liverpool, but definitely a weakened Liverpool. They're not title challengers anymore, I'm afraid, but they're going to still want to get in the Champions League. They're at home. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Liverpool are going to win 2-1. I think Sunderland will get a goal, but I think Liverpool now they've got their win. Isak's got his goal. I think things are going to change for the Reds, red side of Merseyside.
Red side of Merseyside, exactly. It's poetic what you've said there. Yeah, I agree. Liverpool just finding their feet again. Obviously, Arne Slot needs to get wins, and at Anfield, Sunderland, of course, have had a great season so far, but Liverpool trying to bounce back, get back into form inside of it at home at Anfield. I don't see them losing. Perhaps Sunderland get a goal. Maybe Sunderland take the lead, but I'm going to say it's going to be 3-1 Liverpool.
Wow, that's interesting, Kian. So that leads us to the last game. Ironically enough, this is Leeds versus Chelsea. Thank you very much, Kian, for laughing at me there. I do appreciate it. Okay, so my pun is done. Oh, another one. Look at that. All over today, I'll tell you. Okay, so Leeds, Chelsea. I know, Leeds at home. I know a Leeds fan. Unfortunately, the poor sod has to work with me, so I give him enough grief every time. But Leeds fans at home, they're amazing. Don't get me wrong, they're absolutely fantastic. They get right behind the team. But when it's going bad, they go the opposite way. And I think playing at home, the performance they've got, they're not happy with their manager. I think it's going to go bad for them. And the fans are going to turn, and that changes the whole atmosphere at Ellen Road. So I can't see anything but a 3 or 4-0 Chelsea win, I'm afraid. I think Liam Delap might pop up with a couple. Stavio, Pedro. And there's just too much there for Leeds, I'm afraid. I think it's 4-0 Chelsea.
Yeah. Again, it's one that Leeds are going to struggle in, but of course they have gone and fought well against City. They are at home. Leeds at home to Chelsea. I think it's going to be closer than people think, but again, Chelsea are going to take it. I'm going to say it's going to be 3-1 to Chelsea.
Okay, so that wraps up the midweek fixtures for us. I'm away to America next week, so we won't be doing one for the weekend. Yay! Let's go Cards. So by then, a small event at the Alexandra Palace will have started on the 11th of November. So we will be touching on the darts. Me and Kian both.
11th of December.
That's what I said. Did I say December?
You said November.
Oh, sorry, December. I'm really bad with dates, as you can tell, and speaking. So we'll be talking about that. I know Kian's got a favourite player. He goes mental over him. So I'm sure he'll talk about him at some point when he goes out in the 3rd or 4th round. You see. Stop it! There's enough of the laughter button. So we'll touch on the darts of the World Championships. Luke Littler's the favourite. Luke Humphreys. It's going to be an amazing tournament. Biggest prize money of £1 million, I believe, this year. So we'll talk about that on my next podcast. And that's us done for this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever you do on YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Spotify. We'll hear us all here. And don't forget, follow Kian, the Route 1 Brampton podcast also. He'd love
if you've made it this far to hear that, please do go and follow me.
He really needs follows. He loves it.
Well, that concludes the Who Let Dad Near a Mic podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, if you made it this far, we'll see you all next time.
Goodbye.